50 planning lawyers, do nothing but planning law. They're all embedded now in one way or another in major consenting projects. We've made sure that they've had that experience and had that exposure. And we are structured and ordered in a way to make sure that we can respond to pretty much any demand from a client, whatever the scale of project. And that's a pedigree that steps back to our promotion of the consenting regimes for the Olympics, through the work that we've done on HS2, the work we've done on Crossrail, and the work we've done in Hinkley Point C and other major projects around the UK. The important thing to understand is that for many practices like our own, we've seen a very substantial increase in the promotion of very large-scale infrastructure projects, whether they're road, rail, airport, and also a distinct increase in the volume of complex energy projects, whether we're acting from the regulatory side or in the promotion of offshore wind farms, onshore wind farms, or so on. In the scope of that work, we are involved in 3 different forms of consenting structure. A traditional planning application, but a somewhat supersized planning application process where there are regulatory requirements, environmental assessment, and complexities in formulating the scheme and securing a consent of a magnitude that you don't really experience on other projects. The promotion of schemes by development consent order as nationally significant infrastructure projects, which is a relatively new regime, is still in development and expansion into different areas of development projects. There's a recent bid that it should extend to large-scale residential projects as well. And then as a third tier, the promotion of schemes by hybrid bill. And the classic example for us is our involvement in the promotion of HS2. It's critically important when you're promoting these projects to understand that there are always 3 key factors that you've got to meet. You've got to recognise the commercial imperative for the client, and you only realise the commercial imperative for the client, you only deliver the scheme that they want if you live it and breathe it with them, and you take responsibility for it, and you're engrossed in the commerciality of the project as much as the technical promotion. There's no benefit in just being an anorak, focusing upon the detail of the drafting and deliver something which is of no use to the client. You've got to live and breathe it and understand those commercial restraints. The second is the more anorak element of it, which is to focus down on the technical requirements of the process, procedural requirements, and the legal disciplines and regulatory constraints to make sure that you've managed risk. And you've got all of that cleared off, which really for a business like ours should be a given, but these are very complex projects. So you need to resolve that to have the right skill sets and the right people available within the team. If you put that burden on one person, in my view, you'll fail. You need to have that depth of resource and ability to meet that objective. The last element is that always with large and complex projects, what you consent and what will be wanted in the fullness of time will be different. So integral to effective management and delivery on these projects is building in flexibility and recognising where that flexibility is needed. And again, you can only do that by living and breathing the project with a client and having your mind fixed upon those issues which may or may not, even beyond the client's expectations, may or may not need to shift in the fullness of time.
When you have an infrastructure project, which is normally quite complex and can last for years, in fact, to promote, the first thing you really have to do is to understand the overall project objectives. And once you've done that, what you've got to do then is to have an in-depth knowledge of what the project really consists of in terms of the physical works and the impact it's going to have on the surrounding landscape, etc. And in order to authorise that, you will normally need a complex package of powers. You might need to have the powers of compulsory acquisition, you're going to need to have the power to carry out the works, to interfere with people, to interfere with traffic, that sort of thing. And it's completely fundamental that the order or the parliamentary bill that's going to authorise the works confers all the powers and the consents that you need to carry out the project. It doesn't matter how successful you are in getting the bill or the order. If the bill or the order doesn't actually give you the powers you need, you're not going to be able to carry out the works. So our challenge is to find out exactly, identify the powers that are needed, and to define them in the words of the order. And I'll say order from time now, because it's normally a DCO, but it can, as in the case of HS2 or indeed Crossrail, be a hybrid bill.
We've got one of the best CPO teams in the country. We've got some of the best advocates in the country, and we've got a dedicated parliamentary team. I can't think of any other practice that's got all of that in one business. Just isn't there.